Ahila Ilanke Tamil Congress parliamentarian Gajendra Kumar Ponnambalam today took up the Welikada and Anuradhapura prisons incident involving State Minister Anuradhapura, where he posed several questions to the government regarding action to be taken against him. Key among the questions were whether the government intends to allow the Kandy district MP to continue to hold ministerial portfolios.
Given the nature of the criminal conduct of the individual concerned, not only can he no longer be the subject minister in charge of prisons and prisoners' affairs, but in fact he should not be holding any portfolio in government and be a member of parliament itself. Accordingly, will the government ensure that he will be no longer holding any portfolios and take steps to remove him from parliament? Will the government ensure that the Attorney General is unhindered in taking whatever steps that he deems fit, including the arrest of the individual concerned and prosecution under all relevant laws that have been breached? Given that the present government, like its predecessor, has accepted the draconian nature of the PTA, and given that none of the Tamil political prisoners would have been under custody had the said PTA been in accordance with accepted international human rights standards and good practices, will the government at least now release the PTA detainees immediately?
Responding to the questions, Justice Minister Ali Sabri offered an apology to the victims of the incident, calling it a disgraceful act that will be dealt with after investigations by the Criminal Investigations Department, the Human Rights Council and other authorities are concluded.
At the outset, let me unequivocally and unconditionally condemn the incident which had taken place. It should have never happened and it was a disgrace. Having said so, let me also tender my apology to the victims and their family members for whatever the difficulties we had to undergo. I also must ensure that the law enforcement authorities have already commenced investigation. CID had commenced its investigation. Human Rights Commission independently had commenced its investigation, had gone to the scene and recorded statement. Similarly, the Witness Protection and Victims and Witness Protection Authority, which comes under my ministry, had already written to them to ensure the safety and security and dignity of these prisoners and the detainees, because they are under the custody of the government and government has the responsibility to take care and ensure their safety. We do agree on that. It is in that sense we also yesterday at the cabinet decided that we will appoint a retired High Court judge to inquire into this independently and report to us and thereafter to take further action. He has already stepped down from the ministry concerned, so therefore no interference into the investigation which has been carried on. Honorable Attorney General is free, absolutely free, because we, as a matter of fact, we have never interfered and will never interfere in individual cases as to what to be done, what not to be done. PTA is an exception. Exception was required because unconventional methods terrorists in the past used to wage a war on the country. So we need to protect the national security and national interest of this country. When the national security is secured, every one of them is secure. Due to the dastardly and terrorist attack carried out by Saharan and his clan, PTA has to be again used. We have appointed a committee to look into the several provisions of the PTA in order to strike a fine balance between the national security and the liberty and the freedom of the subject. But let me also tell that in 1979 PTA was established. There is a provision in the PTA to appoint an advisory board in order to advise the defense minister. Somebody who had been detained under PTA should be continued to detain under that. But no government for the last 40 years had appointed that advisory committee. His Excellency the President, as the Minister of Defense, 3 weeks ago appointed a respectable independent panel of advisors to look into those cases. So if you feel, Honourable Member, someone had been taken into custody under the PTA, he should not have been taken. You can make an application to the advisory committee. They will look into that, call the necessary parties, go through it and advise the President accordingly.
Lever Ayush Kaha Sabang Sandak Wage Babalana Pivituru Samakata